Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama, call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth telling, more problem solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you. Good morning, K-Man. Gosh, kind of running behind time today. How is everybody doing? Hope that you guys are having a fantastic morning so far. What day is today? Oh my gosh, it's Thursday. Whoa, Thursday already. Okay, give me one quick second. I'm gonna get my links ready for everyone, and then we're gonna get this show on the road. So, did you guys watch the debate last night? Definitely the highest numbers that we had for any debate. I saw that you guys were in the comment section, really having a good back and forth. Some of you were beyond annoying for sure, but that's part of the process. You get the good, the bad, and the indifferent for sure. So it was interesting. You know, someone said, "Oh, can we watch it anywhere else?" And I saw some of you saying, "Yeah, but this is the most fun place to come and watch it with all of the comments." You know, it's like I said, we're one big family here on CMR, so everyone is in the mix, and we're in it for the fun of it, and also hopefully for a little bit of learning. Now, you know, I can tell y'all like how a Caymanian would say it. Some of y'all, your brain's kind of thick like a coconut, your head thick like a coconut, honey child, because yesterday after the show, someone sent me a comment. They said, boy, maybe this lady wasn't paying attention because we know she does listen to the show every single morning. But look at this comment. I had to show you guys this because this made me, what do you say, face palm yourself, where you just slap your forehead and you're like, oh my God, are people actually listening? Are we just willfully ignorant? You know, willful ignorance is a sin, in my opinion. I don't know if the Bible says it, but the Bible talks about for lack of knowledge, right? So willful ignorance is that's what that is. Because when you know better, you're supposed to do better. And some of y'all just don't want to do better. So I don't know what to say. It's interesting, but it's not a good look that we clearly have no clue. Let me try to see if I can find it now. But this was Miss Bryan. With all due respect, I mean, I know that your son is now Team PPM, so I suppose, you know, you're riding with them into the sunset. But she also made this comment about, let me see if I can find it here. She also made this comment about Andre being the finance minister. And I was like, wow, are you guys kidding me? He's not the finance minister. I'm trying to see where it is. Somebody sent it to me. Let me see if I can find it. So yeah, I'm like, but he's not he was never the finance minister, like never. It's not like he held the position and then he didn't hold it. And maybe that's why you guys are confused. He never held the position. So it's very, very strange that somehow there are those of you who have this opinion. And again, it comes down to this. Here we go. This is it. it comes down to this, folks. If our people don't know the basics, like who's the minister of what in this country right now, OMG. How do we expect you to take in more complex issues? Like, not only why are we broke, but how did we get there? You see, we've got a breakdown, which I will get into. We do have some guests coming on. I'm just waiting on the second person to pop in. But we do have a breakdown of why we're broke and where the money has been going. And, I'm no economist, folks. I don't have an accounting degree. In fact, low key, not even low key, you guys know this about me. I'm not really a numbers person. That's why I just use QuickBooks. I make QuickBooks do all the heavy lifting for me because, no, I know you can't see me. I'm coming. Soon come. Y'all want to see me. Aw. I accept my limitations. Some people don't accept their limitations. They're walking around pretending like they have a PhD. So because I accept my limitations, what that means is I look to the experts to tell me what is what and what isn't what, right? So I kind of chuckle, though, when people say things as though they have such immense knowledge. Because, you really don't. And not only do you not have the requisite knowledge, you're not going, because I don't have the requisite knowledge, but I'm going to the experts. I'm saying, hey, talk me through this, walk me through this, let me understand. If I'm not sure of something, I also ask the questions of the people who were in it, who were in the situation. I'm like, okay, I'm not just taking their words. I'm like, show me the documentation, show me the history. Now, because I am in the space of news, obviously, I get a lot of information as it's happening, and the brain can't always remember everything. That's why I love being able to go back to the website and really have an opportunity to go, yeah, I know we covered this. Can I find it? And you guys are amazing. A lot of you are amazing, and you will help me pull up the relevant points, right? So a lot of you are like, yes, Sandy, no, it was this date, it was that date, or this is when this happened. And so that helps me as well. So excuse me. Some of y'all sitting here going, Sandy, where are your Caymanian manners this morning? I didn't even say good morning. I just jumped right into this diatribe. I'm sorry. Good morning, honey child. Good morning to everybody. Good morning, honey child. All right. My apologies. So yes, I seek out information. I've always been an information seeker for as long as I can remember. I love information, news, sus, whatever you want to call it. I'm here for it. Somebody ran into me at the farmer's market on Saturday, and she's like, girl, I love you so much. You're like me. We're like miniature detectives, Yes. And so even yesterday, I'm putting something together. It's not quite ready yet, but I'm putting something together because a lot of you are not only confused about who was the Minister of Finance, and funny enough, there are those of you, my apologies, there are those of you who are liking it, which means that you either thought it was funny or you agreed with her. And that also shows, okay, like what's really going on here? More than one of you didn't understand that there's a huge difference between a Minister of Finance and financial services. They're not the same thing at all. Somebody said yesterday, oh, finance is finance. Somebody later responded later in the day when they were listening to the show, they went back to listen, and they said, yes, please tell her finance is finance and financial services is financial services. And they're two different things. What a hot mess. Anywho, sometimes our biases, we're all biased, yes, will make us skew information. And so we ignore things sometimes because of our biases. And this is where, I've never sat here and said to you that I'm not biased. Everybody has an opinion, therefore you're biased, right? But I try to make sure that my opinion, as much as I possibly can, is based on concrete information, tangible, provable, data-driven decisions, okay? And if I have an opinion and I find out something different, I'm like, okay, I'm only human. I can change my opinion. So my opinion isn't fixed if the data is developing, if it's changing, if there's a convincing, good argument. then show me those things. But your convincing good argument has to come with data. Remember, we keep pushing it, the triple D, data-driven decisions. So, honey child, if you don't know that he was never the Minister of Finance, how can you then turn around and try to make a point and try to criticize the man for the current economic situation? Now, there's a larger question, which we can talk about later. That's perfectly fine. Should the four that left, should they have resigned earlier? Well, you guys know my opinion on it. They should have never formed a government with people who were demonstrating already in caucus, in cabinet, certain behaviors. That should never have happened. But they were willing to give it a chance because they said, you know, they didn't want Cayman to look bad, but it got to the point where they just couldn't do it anymore. And we'll talk about all of those things. But Ms. Donna Bryan, I just wanted to let you know this morning that he was never Minister of Finance. Please get things straight. I know your son is Team PPM, and I know you're going to ride with him, and therefore you're going to ride with them no matter what they do and what they say. This is now where we're conflicted, and our bias is based on personalities, or bias is based on, oh, that's my son, that's my family member. But still, you cannot get information wrong just because it's your son. Okay? So just want to make sure that we're all crystal clear that Andre Ebanks was never Minister of Finance. Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Premier, took that position for herself after they ousted Wayne Panton back in late 2023. The other thing that I want to say that a lot of you appear to be missing, I do have to fix my little light up here, by the way. The other thing that I want to say is that one of the reasons, there was a number of key reasons why he was gone. Number one, it had to do with the National Conservation Act. They wanted to get rid of him because of that, because they saw him as being too pro-environment. They wanted to rip that act apart. As you can see in the end, they couldn't rip the act apart, but they tried to replace the entire council. Now that is being litigated. Number two, the budget. Don't forget, folks, all you have to do is go back. The stories are there in case you've forgotten, because some of you have very short-term memories. All you have to do is go back and see what was happening at the time. Remember, there were all these rumors like, oh, they can't get the budget passed. It wasn't that they couldn't get the budget passed. It was that Wayne Panton, under his premiership, under his leadership, do we have Monet, what's his name? Mornay Boots or Boats or whatever the heck his name is. Can somebody please ask him to log in? Because he seems woefully and willfully confused. I don't know what his issue is with Mr. Panton, but he seems to have a real issue saying that all of this is Mr. Panton's fault. So I would like for Moni, whatever the heck his name is, to join the show early enough so you can try to educate yourself. Because as you will remember, one of the critical issues at the time is that the premier was refusing to pass the budget that some of his other colleagues wanted, right? Including Juliana O'Connor Connolly going from asking initially for $25 million and then doubling that and coming back and saying she wants $50 million for this ridiculous school. So Mornay, or whatever the heck his name is, did this thing. He says, I'm no journalist / blogger or historian, but let me summarize how we got here. Well, honey child, you can't summarize how we got here when you are simply not dealing with facts. That doesn't make any sense. So we're going to encourage you to deal with facts, okay? So yes, you're not a blogger. Yes, you're definitely not a journalist. And you for sure are not a historian, because you've gotten a lot of things wrong. So they couldn't complete the budget. Oh, there you are, Mornay. Good morning. How are you? He says that I'm hilarious and entertaining as always. Maybe, but I'm also factual, unlike you. So welcome to the show, because you're going to learn a lot this morning. And guess what, Mornay? You're one of those developers. We're going to be talking about the environment. So I want you to take out your notepad and actually take some notes, because we need to bring you, along with the facts so you can start to care about the environment, not just the dollars in your bank account. All right, we ready? All right, come to the front of the class, honey child, because I feel like you be sitting in the back, you're chewing gum, you're talking, you're doing spitballs, you're not paying attention, and that's why you're not learning, all right? So come on through, honey child. All right, here we go, Mornay. You ready? Morning boots, shaky boots. Here we go. So it's very, very simple. I saw a lot of your posts, and not for nothing, Morning, but you're a little bit obsessed with Wayne. Now, come. This is not, let's step away from facts for a second, and let's talk about emotional intelligence, because I feel like I need to put you across my lap. I'm not going to spank you because I'm not a believer in corporal punishment, but I'm going to hug you because you look like you need a hug. What's going on? Why are you up in your feelings about Wayne Panton? Just because he's got as much money or probably more money than you, and he hasn't done it by, tearing apart the environment, you're up in your feelings about it? Some people say it's because you're South African and maybe you just need a little bit of Caribbean love and some Caribbean food. When was the last time you had a good plate of Cayman stew conch? We can help you. We can help you find, you're like the little, what's the little green guy at Christmas? The Grinch, he tried to steal Christmas and his heart was all black. But then when he found the love and the spirit of the season, it just expanded. It was like a little peanut, and then it expanded into full size. We can help you, Morning. We can get you there. Let's look at what you've said here. You claim you're not a historian, but apparently you're also not someone who is willing to really rely on the facts. Now, I'll be fair to you. You've sprinkled in a few things in here that are factual. So you're right. You talk about 4 years ago, an early election was called. Crazy enough, you don't then, because then you go on to say the PPM won every seat they ran for and was on track to form a majority government. Were they really? Okay, let's stick a pin. Okay, they didn't have enough to form a majority government. So not quite. You see, this is what we call revisionist history. They ran with people on their platform that they did not win. So how can you say that they won every seat that they ran for? To my recollection, Austin Harris ran with them and he didn't get in. Who else ran with them and didn't get in? Help me out here, the rest of the class who pays attention. There was quite a few of them that ran with them and didn't get in. That's why they were running to the independents, trying to get them to help them form the government. That's not winning every seat to form the government. Revisionist history, Bobo. Okay? I could go on, but we do have guests who are waiting. We're going to go through this. So, Morning, you need to pay attention for the entire class. We are going to go through this and we're going to dissect the things that you've said because you're missing the forest for the trees. But let me say this much. If we had Wayne Panton and the Pat government, as it were at the time, minus Chris Saunders, because he was sexually harassing women, so we can't have that no matter what, not for all the money in the world, we would not be in the fiscal position that we're in now. Because Juliana O'Connor-Conley would have never gotten that amount of money for the Brack School. The personnel expenses, when you go and look at the breakdown from this report, and by the way, I have now gone through it. Like I said, I'm no expert, but I have a lot of people around me who are, and I look at tools that help me understand, right? When you look at Section 26 of the Public Management and Finance Act, you look at the economic and financial forecast for 2025 to 2026, you can't blame any of that on Wayne Panton. Wayne Panton has been gone since 2023, right? Juliana O'Connor-Conley, it's clear that your message is pro-PPM. Juliana O'Connor-Conley has been, for years now, a PPM member. When she took over and called this government UPM, for all intents and purposes, I have been saying it from day one, that was a PPM government. And that is why they started to back down. They were no longer trying to unseat the government from behind the scenes. And they're like, oh, we're going to give her a chance. Of course you are, because she's a PPM member. And they were brokering deals with each other. You do this, you do that for me, and we're going to, we're going to work together. Okay? So, it's amazing how you don't pay attention. Your biases don't allow you to see. Your glasses are so foggy, you cannot see past your nose. Wayne Panton said no way to a lot of these projects. Even in the December, she got in November, and by December, she was giving away money to the civil service trying to buy votes. I was saying to everybody, if you were here listening at the time, that this is going to put us in problems. And what did I say to you? I don't care what France Manderson says about us having reserves and they had savings in the civil service budget. I said that makes no sense. The government budget needs to be looked at holistically. How can you say you have savings in one area of government and you're hemorrhaging money everywhere else? Overall, when you see this pre-election financial forecast, right? You see that now we're running into deficit for the end of this year and going into next year. So I would challenge France Manderson even when you talked about we had a savings, really? The 6 principles of responsible financial management certainly show that we do not have an operating surplus for the end of this year forecasted, and it's going to be the same situation for next year. And in fact, our cash reserves for 2026, right, is less than the 90 days operating spend that it should be. So they did not have the money. And I recall at the time when she decided to give out this honorarium, that was to appease the people because of what she had just done in November. I remember saying to Wayne Panton, I said, wait a minute, were you planning on giving this honorarium? And he said to me, hold on. We had asked the financial secretary the question if we had the money to give. What he said was, don't do it yet. Wait and see. And then he would advise us. What did she do? She ignored the advice of the financial secretary and went and did it anyway in December. Those are the reasons why we are now in the fiscal position that we're in. But don't worry, Morny, like I said, we're going to go through and correct a lot of the things that you have gotten completely wrong. Okay? All right. One other thing. Somebody said you're a bad actor. And that's not a compliment. So one other thing that I think that we will also, somebody said, he not got no sense, you know. I'm here cracking up revisionist history. Yes, well, that's the truth. I mean, let's be honest. No, we're giving him the time of day. Somebody said he's not even a registered voter. No, my darling, we're going to give him the time of day because there are people sitting there because he can craft it and it looks good. There are people who are thinking that what he says is logical, it's truthful, etc. So we have to correct it just like anybody else. We get it. He doesn't even care enough about this country to get registered to vote. We understand that. That's rich. But nonetheless, maybe he doesn't want to be called for jury duty, but nonetheless, you know, he'll be just fine. All right. So thanks for that comment. We're going to grab some of those when we go back to the segment of correcting some of this misinformation that has been circulating out there. Thank you guys so much for your comments. I'm going to just snip those and we will use those later. But speaking of revisionist history, let's get on to our guest here today, because you know, it's very, very important that we educate ourselves ahead of April the 30th, not just in terms of who to vote for, but also the referendum questions are coming. So we have 3 referendum questions, folks, that are really, really important. Now, I'm going to accept that we have been really, really focused on one of the 3, which is the port, because, again, this would be the largest capital expenditure ever in the history of the Cayman Islands if we were to take this project on. And it has a lot of other implications for us that are extremely serious. I promise you, we have a couple more weeks left. I'm trying to see if I can get some other experts together so that we can talk about the marijuana discussion. We can talk about the, and remember now, this isn't legalization. This is simply decriminalization of marijuana. And then we're going to talk about the question about whether government should have a state-run lottery. So we will get to those. And I get it that it's going to be cutting it a little bit short, but I do want us to have those discussions as well. But the port issue, let's be clear, it kind of trumps, no pun intended, everything else in terms of its potential, you know, the significance of it, the monetary impact, the environmental impact. So we have had already a discussion on this program looking at some of the raw numbers, Miss Marla was gracious enough to come on the show, and we haven't had an opportunity to kind of go through her report, which I can tell you took her a month, her and her team, to prepare, to research, to pull data from all sorts of different sources and put it together and then draw conclusions, right? She explained how she came into, doing that report, how the report was commissioned, and she was paid for the presentation that she did, but she wasn't paid for her research time or the report that she decided to put together in order to do that presentation. And the CPR group who requested the report, not the report, my apologies, who requested her to do a presentation also did not know what her conclusions would have been after her research was done, but they accepted, whatever it is, and we'll go with it. So we've got two guests in the studio this morning. I'm going to go ahead and introduce both of them. Hopefully my research pays off here in my introductory remarks. So our first guest up is Dr. Katrina Jurn. She's a distinguished environmental sociologist and a passionate advocate for sustainability in the Cayman Islands. She was born and raised in South Sound, and Dr. Jurn has dedicated over 2 decades to community organizing and championing the responsible use of the island's natural resources. She has a PhD in environmental sociology from the University of Cambridge, and is widely recognized for her groundbreaking research on mangrove wetlands in Grand Cayman, which underscores her critical role in climate resiliency and ecological health. As the visionary co-founder of Sustainable Cayman, which is a grassroots network committed to environmental advocacy, Dr. Jurn has played a pivotal role in shaping the local conservation landscape. Her leadership earned her the prestigious 2014 National Trust Governor's Conservationist of the Year Award. And beyond her work at home, Dr. Jurn has collaborated with international conservation organizations, such as the Nature Conservancy and the Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society, BC, further solidifying her reputation as a global leader in environmental sustainability. Recently rejoining Sustainable Cayman as an executive committee member, Dr. Jurn continues to inspire action and awareness around sustainability challenges facing the Cayman Islands. Her return reflects her unwavering commitment to fostering positive change and empowering future generations to protect the island's natural heritage. Her expertise and passion make her an influential voice in environmental advocacy, and we're thrilled, absolutely thrilled. Let's put your virtual hands together to welcome her to the program this morning. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Sandy. So wonderful to join you, and thank you for the lovely introduction. It's I think this is my first time on Cayman Marl Road,
Yes.
and it's a real pleasure to be here with you.
Yes, absolutely. So everyone give her a virtual round of applause, please. Our class is full this morning. We already have over 500 people online, and I know that they are keenly paying attention to the discourse. So thank you again. And we also have joining us this morning, Mr. Courtney Platt. So let me go on and talk a little bit about Mr. Courtney. He's a renowned photographer and marine life expert based right here in the Cayman Islands. With over 3 decades of experience capturing the beauty of Grand Cayman, he has become a leading voice in preserving the island's unique marine environment. Since moving to the Cayman Islands in 1983, Platt has dedicated himself to documenting the vibrant underwater world, showcasing the incredible diversity of marine life in Georgetown Harbor and beyond. As a passionate advocate for environmental conservation, Platt has been instrumental in highlighting the importance of preserving the reefs and marine ecosystems in the Cayman Islands. His extensive knowledge and captivating photography has made him a respected figure in the community, often sought out for his insights on marine conservation and sustainable tourism practices. Platt's work not only celebrates the beauty of the Cayman Islands, but also underscores the urgent need to protect these precious resources for future generations. And we're also very, very delighted to welcome Courtney Platt to our talk show today. Good morning, Mr. Courtney.
Good morning, Sandy and Katrina. And Cayman, thank you for having me on today. It's great to be on.
Yeah, so wonderful. I mean, both of you have such an amazing dedication to the environment. And Courtney, I want to do a big shout out to you when it comes to your photography, because man, you take some absolutely amazing pictures. And if people saw our photo for the show for today, that beautiful underwater scene with that, lovely turtle and the young boy who I know is your son in the background, that picture is actually one that Courtney has taken. And of course, he's taken, I would dare say, thousands and thousands of underwater photos over the last 3 decades. But isn't that a beautiful picture? I mean, it's just so gorgeous. And I especially thank you, because I'm not really an underwater person. I don't dive or anything like that. But what you do is you really bring it to life, and you allow people like myself to appreciate what it is that a lot of people are fighting so desperately hard to protect.
Well, thank you, Sandy. And I'm impressed you chose that picture. It means a lot to me because my son's 11 years old, and I am praying he'll have some glimpse of what I got to see here since 1983. But that photo was also made right in the kill zone of this project.
Wow, really? But now I'm confused because they've said that there's nothing down there.
I know, isn't that interesting? I think we'll try to prove that actually there is something extremely valuable worth saving there.
Yeah, wow. And if those of you, give me 1 second. Those of you who missed it, look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, that's Soto South. That's right in the kill zone. It's within the 100-yard area that the silt is likely to kill.
Amazing.
And that's living corals behind the turtle.
Yeah.
We saw a shark on the same dive.
Really? Oh, beautiful. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, Courtney, you've got a presentation on all of this that we're going to give you time. Everybody get your Milo ready, get your tea, whatever it is that you're drinking this morning. No alcohol, because I need y'all to pay attention. Courtney is going to go ahead and do his presentation, and then we're going to have Dr. Katrina join in and give us some commentary. Katrina, you can jump in anytime you want. If Courtney says something that you want to add to as he's saying it, feel free to just jump in. So Courtney, you got your presentation ready?
I think so.
Okay. And just a quick reminder while he's pulling that on the screen for us, the straw poll from last night, strawpoll.com/party leader. I'll put it in the comments section because I'm going to take it off of scrolling on the screen, but please go vote in the party leader debate that was held last night by the Cayman Islands Chamber. It was very, very interesting. I know a lot of you quite enjoyed it. Lots of interesting comments, but we'll discuss that later. But just go for now and vote in the poll to make sure that you get to participate in that. So we're ready, Courtney.
Okay.
I'm going to just pull out my other things here for now. And then you just click down at the bottom where it says present, and you can pull in your slide there, and you should be good to go.
Okay. Here we go.
Yes. All righty. And then you'll see up at the top where it says slides and PDFs. You click on that one.
At the top.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Not seeing anything at the top. Slides and PDFs.
Yeah, you see that bit?
No. If I click on present, oh, there it is. Got it.
We go. Yes, and then you just find your slide and then add it to the screen, and we're going to be off and running. Jamie says cruise berthing, no. Upgrade port, yes. National lottery, yes. Weed, no. That's how Jamie is planning and voting. Some very, very interesting votes there.
How do I add it to the screen?
Once you've got it there, just click on the actual little icon that says add to a stage. So once
I've never used this program before.
So once you see it on the bottom, basically you just click on it and it'll put it in on the
It says you have no slides.
Oh, so when you click on slides and PDFs, then it gives you an option. Right, there you go. And then you select it from there.
I have to upload this still, apparently.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll read a few comments while you're doing that. Cayman Kind says, Sandy, you got to try it. It's beautiful. I did it once. Oh, you mean diving? Yes, well, maybe one day. Selvin says, so straight off the bat, they're against the berthing facility. This is a paid political ad. Oh, Selvin.
Sandy, I can jump in there while we're waiting. So, I mean, our group is very concerned about the impacts of a potential cruise berthing facility, but we're also very concerned about the lack of information that the government has given the people leading up to the referendum. We've been given no design, location, cost, impact, business case, nothing. Back in 2019, when the previous PPM government was pushing for the port, they did do environmental impact assessments and outline business cases. The current government is saying it's not necessarily going to be the same project. So we're in that place of not having information from the government, but also having some very concerning information from five to 10 years ago when all of those studies were completed, which showed that, you know, the environmental impact would be very significant. It's like the equivalent of $550 million in loss of natural capital assets over 25 years, 20 acres of coral reef, 20 acres of seabed and 12 acres of coral reef at a minimum that would be destroyed. And we'll be seeing the quality of and beauty of those reefs in Courtney's presentations. The pro-port side are saying there's nothing there that's worth saving, whereas those of us who dive, snorkel, gone on the submarine, any of the ways that you can experience the reefs in that area, we know that there's something very special there. It's a world-renowned dive site and snorkel site, and one of the most accessible shore dives, shore snorkels in the world. It's what a lot of people come here to experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. Any luck there, Courtney?
Yeah, I've discovered that my 500 megabyte file size is too big for their 50 megabyte limit, and I have to export my file to PDF first, which I'm doing now.
Okay. All right. Take your time. Katrina, thank you so much. Can we just call you Katrina? Would you like us to call you Dr. Katrina?
Katrina is great.
All right. So, Katrina, you know, it's so interesting that, you know, some people there are people who are still undecided. And that's why we want to have you on the program. We couldn't get both sides together because, you know, it was just too contentious. So we've had the pro-port group ACT come on, and they had put their views forward. We had Miss Marla, who doesn't really have a stake in this, but she has done sufficient research to look at more of it from an economic perspective. And then we wanted to look at the environmental perspective, which is why we thought we would have you guys on in your expert capacity here this morning. So is there a world, let me just ask you this, is there a world where if you had an environmental impact statement that said, it wasn't going to cause that much damage, we could do it in a sustainable way, is there a world that Sustainable Cayman would actually support a cruise berthing facility?
Sandy, I'm mostly speaking on behalf of CPR Cayman today, although I wear two hats, but other options haven't been explored. Like, we've only looked at Georgetown Harbor. We haven't looked at Northwest Point. There are proposals, floating around about a huge port at Breakers, but we haven't done feasibility studies. We haven't there've been proposals of, floating piers, and also more like a cable car pier that would require less dredging. So we haven't, as a country, explored in depth those other options. Potentially, there could be, in a different location or a more sort of innovative method for creating piers, that if there was less cost, less of an impact, that I think groups would support if the kind of cost benefit was a bit more favorable. But from Marla Ducarin's report, which was, as you said, we didn't know what her conclusions would be. We just really wanted good data on Cayman's cruise sector, and would a cruise berthing facility really, is it imperative? Would it help us? Would it how is our cruise sector doing? And her research was very interesting in that. It's super in-depth, a lot of different data points, but her conclusions were that essentially Cayman is already doing really well, higher than average cruise passenger spend amongst the highest disembarkation rate, and a lot of other, those key factors of passenger spend and booking tours that are highest here. So, what would be really the advantage of building a pier? Like, we're not going to be getting like a more quality or higher spend or higher disembarkation rate. We're already kind of at the max. We are currently, although our cruise numbers, as 83% of destinations in the Caribbean have seen a decline since 2019, mostly due to the pandemic, and then just a kind of slower recovery in a changing world, like changing cruise trends, right? And so, 83% of other islands with pair or no pair, so they're also experiencing those lower numbers, which indicates that having a pair does not necessarily mean that we're guaranteed to get more ships or even the mega ships. And furthermore, one of my, this is not in her report necessarily, but one of my greatest concerns is that I think a lot of people who support a cruise berthing facility are being misled. Like, they say we're going to build a pier to bring in mega ships. Mega ships have higher spending passengers, and somehow people who have small businesses think they're going to benefit, but the higher spend passengers are going to want more high-end tours, high-end experience. They're not going to be booking tours with little mom and pop operators who have, who are not offering a really luxury experience. And so my fear is that if we went down this route, built a pier, hugely indebted our country for, at least 25 years, destroyed the face of Cayman, our beautiful harbor, that even the people who think they're going to benefit from this are not going to benefit. It's just going to be larger tour operators, larger companies who can afford to deliver that product for these higher spend passengers. Right now, we have a good mixture of demographics in our cruise tour arrivals that people are happy to go both with. Some want the luxury, some are happy to go with the smaller tour operators. There's definitely a lot we can and the government should be doing to ensure that cruise tour operators are getting a much better, fairer deal with pre-booked tours from the cruise lines. And definitely with the one of your commenters there, we should definitely be improving the port and the whole experience of getting off the ship, making it more comfortable, cooler, improving just, like you walk around and there's so many improvements that could be made at a small cost that would benefit cruise tourists, stay over, and Caymanians and residents.
All right. So Selvin has a question for you. After he said that was a very good question to the doctor, he goes on to say, why are you concerned about the cost when the environmental position that you're taking will drive up the cost? I therefore have to conclude she's against both the road and the berthing facility. Okay, he's jumping to conclusions. Selvin, you know what happens when you jump to conclusions. But let's talk then about, your expertise is environment. Why do you think about other things other than just environment, I suppose is what he's saying.
Right. Well, I mean, I know for perhaps my biggest concern is the environment, but I know for the majority of people, actually the quality of life, cost of living, these are the main concerns for the majority of people. And I mean, let's think about the other impacts that this would have on the majority of Caymanians. 5 years of constructing a cruise berthing facility in Georgetown Harbor. Georgetown is going to be a complete mess for 5 years, major construction zone, traffic, and it's going to seriously impact traffic in all directions coming into town during construction and after. I mean, they're calling for, we currently have 1.2 million. In 2019, we had around 2 million. This would be calling for like 3 to 5 million cruise passengers a year. With that number of people flooding into the streets, buses, there's going to be a huge impact on traffic and quality of life in our already super congested and very stressful environment traffic-wise for everybody who lives here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you can't look at probably any one thing in isolation, right? Everything has a sort of knock-on effect or other things are impacted. So the question also, when he says that your position with the environment will drive up the cost, I'm not sure what he means by that, but how does an environmentally friendly position drive up cost?
I'm not sure, because right now, I'm sorry if I'm misunderstanding his question, because actually another point that Marla Ducarin pointed out in her report is that currently we pay nothing for cruise tourists to arrive at our shore. The cost is currently totally externalized. The cruise lines pay the tender company to bring tourists to the shore, who then spend money. If we were to build a cruise berthing facility, we would be taking something that's now externalized and having to pay for that full cost ourselves. Yeah, it may be spread over 25 years along with interest, but we will be paying that $500 million, which we currently are not having to pay for. And we will probably also have, the government will also have to take on the cost of tendering, because if the pier is built, the tender company probably won't continue to operate on lower numbers. So we will be significantly increasing the cost that the taxpayers of, I mean, we are taxpayers of this island, have to pay in indirect taxes and through, the government revenue that's going to go to be paying back for the construction of the cruise berthing facility.
All right, Courtney, you're struggling. I'm going to help you out here.
No, I think I'm all set to go.
Oh, you're
we're
good?
going to share my screen.
Yes, do it.
Yeah, so it should work.
Yes.
So if you're ready, I'm just going to share screen.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Share screen.
Yes. Callie, good morning. Callie says most piers are built locally in the country's Mark Town area, or are we considering to kill Georgetown? So the possibility of not building the port in Georgetown, she's saying, would kill Georgetown. I mean, not for nothing, but Georgetown is pretty dead, Callie, already. And the revitalization project, I think by most standards, hasn't done that. It's like you were trying to perform CPR on the CPR, no pun intended, on the CPR dummy, and the dummy's not coming to life. So what do you say to that? Like, if you say move the port somewhere else, that's going to have the worst economic impact on the companies that are remaining in town, which is probably just like Colonel's and a few other stores.
I think that there's, a lot of places are actually building their cruise piers not in the center of town. They're building them in smaller towns where there's, quieter, safer experience for the cruise passengers. Right now we have, 1.2 million passengers and increasing numbers arriving right into town. So, all of the businesses that are there are benefiting. I think that the big problem is not lack of cruise tourists. It's that Georgetown has lost its appeal for our residents and locals. And, between the revitalization, businesses moving to Caymanna Bay and not being encouraged back into Georgetown. I think the solution is to incentivize restaurants and other businesses that locals would go to open up in town. And of course we need parking. There's not good parking, which still hasn't been addressed by the government. But I think there are other ways to have a good balance between cruise tourism and local patronage of businesses in town. But we've got to have the right mixture of businesses and facilities, parking, etc.
All right, Courtney, I don't want you to get frustrated here. I'll just do it for you.
Thanks.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Only thing, yes, don't worry yourself. So let me just see how to do it full screen now. That's the only thing, or I'll increase the size. Let me see here now. Slideshow, let's do it this way. Oh, it's taking over my other screen. All right, so I think this can work though, Courtney. So you'll just have to tell me, Courtney, when you want me to go to the next. Oh no, hold on. I don't want to do slide view. Hold on, wrong one. I want to do the presentation, I think.
You can't give me control?
No, I don't think I can. Hold on, let me see.
I'm just getting hung up where it says something about Google Chrome needs some permission, and then it's not giving me the option to give it permission. I don't see that.
Yeah, because you have to go into settings within Chrome, so that probably takes.
Well, I am in settings. System settings, not Chrome settings.
No, Chrome settings.
How do I get there?
Let me see now.
Sorry, folks. First time on this.
So hold on. So go to Chrome. I'm going to be doing this from just looking at it.
The Chrome tab?
So go to Chrome, go to settings. There should be a security area. So over on the right-hand side, or left-hand side rather, if we look at to do privacy and security, I think is it in there? Maybe it's in, oh God, this is a question for hubby. He'd know exactly. Maybe it's under extensions. No. All right, give me one quick second. This is a Marlon question. We're gonna ask Marlon.
Oh man, sorry folks.
No, this is why I say, I gotta rely on the experts here, and he's the expert with this kind of thing. So we'll have him walk us through it because he'll be with us.
I think it'll be worthwhile.
Yeah, I would eventually find it, but Marlon is gonna do a much better job of, let me make sure we can hear him, of finding it right away for me. Let's just see here. Oh, let me just see something, Marlon. All right, hold on. He'll help us out. He's the IT guru here. I'm just trying to remember exactly where it is. I thought it was privacy and security, safe browsing, site settings. Oh, I got it. All right, I think. Images, pop-up, microphone, embedded content. Looks like he might actually be busy this morning. I know. Gosh, I'm trying to remember where the appearance, performance, no.
Why don't we do it with Sandy clicking?
Yeah.
All right.
View
I'll
permission
go
on sites. All right. So yeah, you'll just tell me when to change it. We can do it that way.
Go.
All right. So the first slide I think we need to go back. Okay.
To the top.
All right. Just tell us what we're looking at here, Courtney.
I'm not seeing it.
Oh, you're not seeing it on the screen?
Nope, not on my screen. Katrina, you see it?
I can see it, but it's like I can see all the whole program. You need to
yeah, I'm
put
trying
it
to
in presentation mode.
Presentation mode. There we go.
Yeah, that's
better.
It's not full screen for me.
Hold on. Let me see now. There's probably display. Is it? No. Hold on. Slideshow. We normally don't do slideshows. I think that's why we're struggling. Yeah. We normally do PDFs. Slide sorter. What's the other display option? Reading view. Okay, so I think if we do, because then we can hide the slideshow over at the side, right? You see, I don't use slides. Layout. Maybe I should just convert it to PDF, because I honestly, I mean, we'll have to maybe do it this way, but you will see the whole program, because I'm not really a slide person. I hardly ever use this, but how do you change it to just the slides? Does anybody know? We're all my IT people this morning. Oh my goodness. How do you use it, obviously, because you've created it. Do you know how to change it to just slides? We're in what is this? Microsoft, whatever it's called. PowerPoint. Anybody good with PowerPoint? I'm not. I don't ever really. So we've got down at the bottom, we have reading view, slide sorter, in normal. So
The
right
one-
now it's normal.
The one that you had it in like second was pretty good, Sandy.
Was it this one?
Like this. I think this is probably the best.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have to go with that then. But it does it move the slides on its own if I have it on this one, or do I have to do it? Okay. Looks like I do it. Okay. Go ahead. Just work with it.
All right. Yeah. So see, it's going on its own. It's not supposed to. I need to be able to pause. Let's pause there. Let's stop right there. The EIA was extremely alarming. Right after the presentation at Mary Miller Hall, that the marine biologist told us this was going to be disastrous based on the EIA, her studies, and all the background that they have with dredging near coral reefs. They really know a lot about it. I learned a lot about it from them. They know that despite every mitigation you can throw at it, you're going to get a lot of damage outside the dredge pit. It's not just the dredge pit, but the dredge pit alone is that dark area in the middle of the screen, the dark red. That's over 20 acres that they're going to dredge if they do this thing. And yeah, let's just stay. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. That's fine. Yeah. And you can see I've highlighted the reefs in yellow and the shipwreck in the middle there, so you know where everything is relative to the pit. And they say at best, if all the mitigations work, you're going to kill about 100 yards outside the dredge pit with the silt. And the silt blocks the sun, killing the corals. It chokes up the sponges. It smothers things. But primarily, it's the blocking of the sun that causes the problem. And they say, oh, we can mitigate that too. The way they do that is they stop the dredging and wait for the silt to dissipate, which could take not only hours, could take days if there's no current. And that one of the EIA findings was they studied the current flow in the harbor. They had meters set up all around inside the harbor within the area. And it's very light currents across the dredge pit area, but zero current flow in Hogstye Bay and around the wreck of the Cali up near shore. So it's a real problem if you have this silt just hanging and you have to stop the dredges at, I don't know how much they're paying per hour and certainly per day to have those dredges in place. So at some point they would have to just say, well, we're going to have to cheat a little bit here because it's too expensive for this mitigation. And this is the case for so many mitigations. They're really expensive for some of these things, and none of them are 100%. And if you throw everything at it with all the money you can on mitigations, you're going to still kill Eden Rock and Soto's South Reef, the Cali and Hogstye Bay. Okay, go.
All right. So how can you, let me just ask some questions as we go along here. And I'm still trying to figure out how to get it in presenter view. Someone just called and gave me some tips. So I am still working on that behind the scenes. But let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah, but there's a lot more I can say about that.
Yeah. So there are people who will say to you, hold on a second. When you say that, that means that, you know, how can you definitively say that these things will happen? Maybe that's the question. Since we've never built it, your position is based on what?
The history. The history of dredging near coral reefs throughout the Caribbean, everywhere you go, there are horror stories, one after another, where the politicians all get up and say, with the cruise line directors, and say, we can mitigate this. It's going to be okay. Don't worry. And they voted in, or I don't even know if they vote on it in most islands. And I thank our process for allowing us a word in this, but because we all own this, we all own these marine resources. We share this together, just like a strata at a condominium complex. And so I'm grateful that we have a say. Yeah, it's
so somehow I'm making
the marine biologists have the background. They've seen it over and over and over again. They know they get all these promises and then it's disaster. Port of Miami was one of the big disasters. Jamaica at Falmouth.
Almost.
Massive disaster. They still, to this day, every time the ships pull in and pull out, in a similar situation to what we're trying to create here, because the thrusters are so close to the bottom, they're only going to dredge down to 36 to 38 feet deep, which means that the bottoms of these giant ships are very, very close to that as they pull in. And their thrusters, as they maneuver in and out of the dock, you'll see video after video of this massive silt clouds coming up in all these ports. You know, just the other day, I saw some ridiculous claim that, oh, well, look, there's no silt coming up from the ships where they anchor right now. So why are you worried? You know, we're not seeing any silt come up. Well, the ships are anchoring in 60 feet of water, backing out over 200 feet of water, and their thrusters are in very deep water. And these are smaller ships than what they're talking about bringing in.
Yeah. All right.
Also, just to add to that, we had CPR brought down Dr. Tom Gouraud, who's a world-renowned coral reef expert. He's born in Jamaica. He's been doing research for over 55 years on coral reefs globally, and he presented on findings that he's personally experienced of the impacts of cruise berthing and similar facilities in the region. Just disastrous outcomes for the coral reefs, surrounding coral reefs, and water quality, and impacting quite significant areas beyond the dredge pits. And so he shared that experience. I mean, it's I was quite upset to hear the Mr. Israel, who the ProPort team brought down last week. He claimed that there would be no environmental impact of building a cruise berthing facility, whereas I just find that extremely misleading when we've got case after case after case of really environmentally destructive cruise berthing facilities. If you have to dredge, you're going to, especially if you've got coral reefs, healthy coral reefs in proximity, it's going to be have a huge impact, and we have to face that. In making a decision, people should not be misled about this issue.
And Katrina, I should point out too that we're not really talking about healthy reefs in this case anymore. In the 2019 report, EIA report, they found that we had 21% live hard coral coverage in the harbor, which was good compared to the average outside the harbor. The average outside the harbor around the island is 19% back in 2019. But since then, we've had a major die-off. We're down somewhere around 9% live hard coral coverage. And the point I'm making here is that this is island-wide, not just in the harbor. And if you have any hope for restoration in the future, should the waters not get hotter and kill the rest, then you've got to spare those desperate, clinging to life coral heads that remain, because they're the future for the reef. And if we kill that, and they are much more susceptible to silt in this state that they're in now, because they've been so damaged, that it's probably easier to kill farther beyond the pit even now than it was before.
Wow. So there's no scenario where if you dredge, that you dredge without any damage. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, absolutely. And that's all the marine biologists agree on that, because the data shows it, right? It's easy to look at history of all the dredging in the Caribbean and say, wow, she's right. A minimum 100 yards outside the dredge pit, even with all the mitigations working. And the problem, and she pointed out, problem with these mitigations is they're totally imperfect. It's literally called a silt screen because it's a screen. The silt keeps pouring out through it and under it. It doesn't even enclose all the way to the bottom. And so it's going to come out. That's a fact. It cannot be withheld. But we know we're going to kill at least 20 acres where we're going to dredge everything out and create a pit. Right? I mean, even if people refuse to accept that the silt is going to kill outside the pit, which is clear from the EIA. That's a massive amount of very important stuff, which if we get to see the slideshow, you will learn there is a thriving fish nursery in this area, and it's unique. These reefs are found nowhere else on the island. We can't find anything like this in calm water where you've got a high profile reef that rises from 30 feet deep up to 8 feet deep at the top. And it's the perfect tourism attraction for glass bottom boating. There's no other place you can do it. I promise you can't do this anywhere else. Your passengers will get seasick. You've got to have the calmest water possible. But it's also full of shipwrecks and high profile reef and all kinds of fish. It would be shooting yourself in the foot to kill this.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm only talking about the environmental part of this thing. Katrina's got a whole lot more to tell you about all the other issues that we discovered as we did battle against this problem.
Katrina?
Yeah, I'm wondering, Sandy, can we get to the coral slides?
Yes. Okay, give me one.
I think that would be
in here. Yes. Lots of multitasking happening. All right. So this one, this shows a shipwreck that is 30 feet deep. This is the Balboa shipwreck. So
that's
you're
right.
seeing
And the reefs next to it.
Yes. Just tell me when to stop.
Okay. And let's pause here for a moment. So you can see the proximity of the dredge pit to, Yep, right here. You can see the proximity of the dredge pit to Soto South, which is to the north side, the right side of the pit. And then on the left side, you have Eden Rock immediately adjacent. The pit literally clips into Eden Rock as they dredge and clips into Soto South as they dredge. Now you're looking at the Balboa Reef and the wreck of the Balboa, which is right in front of the dock. That strip of reef marked as, let's go back, if you can pause on it. That strip of reef is about 100 yards long, and you see the large round bit on the right side of it. And there's a dark ravine separating that from the rest of the reef. Now we can go to the next slide, and you'll see the same section that I just pointed out, that big round section on the right end of the reef. Here it is underwater. That's that piece. And they were saying there's nothing there, right? If you go snorkeling out and look down, it looks dead because you're 30 feet or 20 feet away, or actually the top of it's 8 feet deep, but still you don't see the colors, you don't see. And if you don't know what you're looking at, this stuff might look dead to you, right? That's the living corals. The thing is riddled with tunnels. All of the reefs in Georgetown Harbor are riddled with tunnels. This is a thousands-year-old construction of corals building up over thousands of years to create this habitat. It's a unique habitat. If you, even if the corals were entirely dead, the habitat is still extremely valuable. And that thin veneer of living tissue, which we're looking at right here, that's living coral right there under these juvenile black snappers. Those are deep water fish that the juveniles grow up in our nursery grounds up in the shallows, but then they move deep as they mature. But that thin veneer is the only living part of the coral. What's underneath it is the ancestors of that thin veneer. And we're going to see some close-ups of polyps later, so you know what corals are. These are related to jellyfish. They're very fragile. All right, let's go on.
We do have a caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi. Good morning, Sandra. Good morning to your panel there.
Morning, John.
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I just wanted to make the point, particularly to Courtney. I just wanted to clarify this, which I think it probably bears mentioning, that in the referendum that is being put forth fraudulently, I believe, but you are referring to the previous plan. And as it pertains to the referendum that is being, the non-binding referendum, which is being put forth by the government at this time, we have no reference as to where the actual footprint would or will be, because that information has not been shared with the general public. So for all we know, Courtney, the footprint of a potential cruise berthing facility could actually potentially be much larger. And this is one of the major problems, is that we, the populace, the electorate of the Cayman Islands, have not been given the necessary information to even be able to give an educated, decision, yay or nay. And this is part of the dishonest way that the government is putting forth this referendum. I just wanted to point that out. We don't know what they really are planning to do. And
thank you for that point.
The schematics for the previous design is problematic in that we do not have the relevant information necessary. I just wanted to make that point to you.
Thank you. That's
absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And it was the first thing that everybody at CPR recognized instantly when this thing came up. It's like, well, where's the plan? So the only thing we have to go on is their best last plan. This was an adjustment from their first plan they proposed, and we all went, wow. And then they said, okay, we'll make some adjustments. And they took out about 10% of the dredging by extending the base of the pier further out into deeper water, so that the piers end up being a bit longer and they have to walk a bit farther. So it was a compromise. This was their best effort to give us a workable plan, and it's still pretty horrendous.
Yeah, and just one other point to mention. I mean, I completely agree with the caller. The Ministry of Tourism in January put out a series of videos with interviews with cruise line execs when the Deputy Premier was in St. Martin back in October. And one of the questions that he asked all of them was, what would you say is the best location for a cruise berthing facility? And they pretty much unanimously said, we're not trying to tell you where to build your pier, but Georgetown Harbor is the best place from their perspective. But again, we don't know, like, what would that plan look like? We're not even certain. We're just assuming based on that little bit of information that was shared that they would still be looking at Georgetown Harbor. But again, you're so right. I mean, it could be a larger dredge pit. It could be, this is, again, as Courtney said, a reduced version from 2015, where they tried to slightly reduce the environmental impact in the dredging area.
And I want to make clear that we don't get misinterpreted yet again by the pro-port side, who say, oh, they don't want to build it in Georgetown Harbor, so we'll find a better place for it. And it's like, no, any place else would be even far worse environmentally, because there'd be so much more they have to dig through. There'd be so much more dredging anywhere else, because we're already starting with fairly deep water. We're not saying that there could be a better place. We're just saying that if we can live without doing this thing, if cruise is not actually going to die, which we heard from CEOs at Family Life Center on that panel for the public consultation on this in 2018, 2019, whenever it was. And the CEOs were asked point blank, if we don't do this thing, is cruise going to die? And they said, oh, no, that's not what we're saying. We're just not going to bring the big ships, right? Cruise isn't going to die. We're just not going to be able to bring in the big ships. And in fact, the tender operators can tell you that, yeah, you could tender the big ships. We just have to build some new tenders specifically for them, but you're not committing to do that. So we're not going to build those tenders. Right. Until you commit to tender them.
Yeah. So I see some pretty, somebody just said, I'm going to show you one comment here that I think is so incredibly interesting, but this person, hold on one second. Let me make sure I pull in the right comment. This person has a very interesting comment to say, because, Courtney, we hear people say there's nothing there. And when we look at this, you talk about this massive, this is actually considered a reef, this structure here?
That's right. And when they first said, oh, don't worry, we can mitigate that, we'll just move the reef. try moving that thing, right? What it turned out they were talking about is taking chunks of corals from the top and putting those somewhere else. This is thousands of years of growth that they're talking about dredging out.
Wow. So this person says, my God.
All the coral relocation efforts made everywhere else, all of them have failed. They live for just a short time, then die. And they photograph them still alive just before they die and say, look, it was successful.
So this one says, my God, the world underneath us is so beautiful. And this is what they're hell-bent on destroying. Why?
Man, that's how I feel. I tell you.
Yeah. And I see little crustaceans in there.
Yeah, that's not even a little lobster. That's a big, full-grown lobster.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this structure is 20 feet high. So use that for perspective. And now we're inside the tunnels. It's all lined with holes filled with crustaceans of every kind, worms of all sorts, all kinds of fish, juvenile fish, bivalves, gastropods, all the things that feed the marine life that we like to eat. That stuff is all living within this structure. And this is what we're talking about removing. It's a metropolis of life. There's millions of individual organisms just in this one coral head.
Romeo says, yes, I have seen the videos of a cruise ship kicking up silt, trying to leave. He is speaking truth. Good morning to Miss Marva. Raymond has an interesting contribution. He says the silt doesn't go away. Every time the ships dock, it will kick up again.
That's right. Once you make a pit, now sand is just like water. It flows to the deepest point. So you'll constantly be refilling the pit. And I brought it up, and the dredge operator said, oh, but we can mitigate that too. We'll just come back and dredge it again every year or two as often as needed. We'll just pump it out of there. And I know that government isn't going to enjoy spending that amount of money. And it would add to the environmental disaster as they dredge out all the conch that fall into the pit. Go on.
All right. So Raymond says, I've dived waterfront more than 20 times, both day and night. So I was blown away when they said the waterfront was dead. It's nowhere near.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, some corals have died. We know that, but everything else is there. So some corals have died. They've died all around the island. And they're desperate for recovery.
Yeah, but it's still a very extremely vibrant and awe-inspiring experience to see the underwater life that is still there. It's a really unique, extremely unique ecosystem, and for everybody, for tourists, for Caymanians and residents, it's right there at our fingertips. Like, you jump in the water and within minutes you're able to see these we're looking now more at Soto's Reef, but very similar structures are at Eden Rock. Similar Courtney, do you have any photos of Eden Rock?
Oh yes, we're going to get there, but this is going slowly.
Yeah.
So normally this is an 18-minute show. I'm sorry, folks.
That's okay. Barbara says the best place for this is another country.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So I love that. I mean, these pictures they're so beautiful, I must say.
Yeah, that's the same coral block. Same coral block right there. Yeah. Same one.
Wow.
Just looking down from the top. And just now, we can go quickly through any of the macro stuff. You can advance quickly. I just want you to know there's a lot of little things living.
What's this little guy that's here? I mean,
he's a plenty.
Intrigued. Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
And anemones, beautiful stuff. And this is a fantastic tourist attraction as long as we keep the water clear, even if the corals are not in the pristine shape they were in 40 years ago. It's still a wonderful attraction. It's great for glass bottom boating, snorkeling, scuba diving, sea trekking, submarines. There's a load of ways that we have utilized these reefs in the past, that we currently utilize them. In 2013, the EIA showed that, our PricewaterhouseCoopers showed that we were making $19 million a year on ticket sales for diving and in-water sports in the harbor. Just in the harbor per year, $19 million. Wow. you know, and you'll never hear any of this from the other side of this argument. They will,
and that will go away. That will, that 20, I mean, I'm sure it's more than that now, $20 million of economic activity, all the jobs that are connected with that will be pretty much lost if the cruise berthing facility goes ahead.
And the protection to the waterfront properties that the reef provides, because the waves energy is diminished when they hit these large coral heads as they approach shore. Right. It's
Blair says, yeah. Blair says the pro-port attempt at fear-mongering all day long about how it's going to die altogether, not true. We say yes to cruise tourism and no to the Newport. This will only benefit a few private sector businesses. So Gabby goes on to say, why not build it at Starfish Point that have a lot of space already?
Yeah. And they have in no way proven that cruise is going to die if we don't build this port. We are so perfectly positioned where we are for the cruise industry that they will continue, especially all these new ships. And we just found out recently there's over 50 new small cruise ships being built right now.
I saw that the other day.
The vast majority of all the new ships are going to be our size.
Yeah.
Right? So this fear-mongering that we're going to lose cruise, it is, I am sure.
And that's a moray eel that's in this one?
That's a green moray. But without actually being there in the boardroom to hear it from the CEOs of the cruise industry, I'm as sure as I can be that it's the people who build these giant ships, the people who buy these giant ships, the people who need to fill these giant ships that are driving this message that we're going to lose cruise if we don't build these piers. This is the reef, the deeper reef on the outside of the Balboa. It's fantastic. You can see the divers there. We dive it every day at some point. People are diving this all the time, and snorkeling and scuba diving, but the glass bottom boat tours are going every day. And the thing is, you can just walk from the look at the Balboa shipwreck is a national treasure. The day dive is my number 2 best dive on the island. If I'm rating our dive sites, this is the number 2 best dive. Now, because of the shipping activity, we can really only dive it on weekends and at night. You can go for it.
Okay. Graham says the following: globally, the cruise industry always wants things done for them to maximize their profits and confine their charitable giving/donations to the United States. At the same time, they all claim to be environmentally friendly until they're caught greenwashing. What the heck is greenwashing?
Oh, I've got an example. Recently, somebody, I won't name him because he's prominent on the ACT side, commented that it's environmentally friendly. This is good for the environment because the pillars become housing for marine life. Yeah, maybe a little bit, relative though to what we're going to destroy. It's a pittance compared to what we're going to remove. So it's a real far stretch to say this is environmentally friendly. That's greenwashing.
One quick question we have from a listener is they're saying, can you say, because are these photos recent? Because one of the criticism is, oh, these are old photos. That's not what it looks like.
I am familiar with that criticism. In 2019, when I was showing this, I heard this comment. And I can tell you that all the photographs you're seeing right now were made either in 2019 or some of them were made in 2015 when this problem first came up. But occasionally there's going to be a macro shot in there that's even older. And who cares about that? The age of a macro shot, because it's something that there's millions of in the harbor. Right?
And are you using any special photography, lighting, or anything else to enhance the photos?
I have flash units to bring back the true colors of what you see. Without the flash units, everything looks blue. You don't see the colors.
Just because of how things look under with
because
camera.
Water is a blue filter. It absorbs the red end of the spectrum first, then the orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, ultraviolet, in that order, the deeper you go.
Yeah. Okay, caller?
Hi, good morning again. So, greenwashing. Okay, greenwashing is when a company has taken notice of the growing popularity of being environmentally and ecologically sustainable, and they monetize that popularity for their own profit margins 99% of the time, not actually becoming or being more environmentally or ecologically sustainable. It is a disingenuous, as in dishonest, marketing ploy that is used all over the Cayman Islands, but also all over the world, corporately and all the way down the line from there. That is what greenwashing is. Basically, it is using a pro-environment illusion to further their own business interests, and it's built upon a lie.
Got it. Thank you.
I didn't even realize that.
The Ritz-Carlton Cayman Islands has ambassadors of the environment built directly upon the carcass of many tens of acres of once viable red mangrove estuary. That, people, is what greenwashing is.
Well, that's really interesting. I remember being accused of somehow profiting off of this issue, which was absolutely insane. I have completely lost business over this issue. And nobody's paying anybody at CPR. Nobody's giving us money to pursue this issue. We do this out of a passion for what we believe to be true. This is about truth and combating the misinformation that we hear from the other side.
All right. Wow. We're enjoying looking at the pictures. Oh, what kind of fish is that one there at the bottom?
Puffer. That's the largest species of puffer we have. Everything that lives in the Cayman Island reefs are found on the wreck of the Balboa, which is why it's my #2 best dive site on the island. It's in 30 feet of water. It's super shallow, easy dive, like going in a pool. It's flat, calm. It's the perfect beginner's dive. And it's packed full of interest. And people love shipwrecks too.
Yeah. And what's this little one? Tell us what he is.
Trumpet fish. Yeah, little active little predator. He's cryptic. He just pretends he's part of the growth and until a little fish runs too close to the front end and disappears. Wow.
Okay.
So that's Gorgonian, a type of soft coral in the foreground. They are not being affected by any of the coral diseases that have been going on. So all the Gorgonians, the sponges, they're still healthy. Their damage comes from storm surge, waves, big waves coming in. And they're very resilient. This is a soft, flexible structure. So it can take a lot of storm surge.
All right. Omiria says, why do these Johnny-come-latelys always come here and tell us what to do? Katrina, I'm going to let you answer this, Miss Johnny-come-lately.
Okay. Well, I think about a 10th generational Caymanian on my mom's side. So I'm not quite sure how much longer they would like me to be here. But, you know, this is you know, I think an issue for people who are generational Caymanian, who have made this Cayman their home. Like, this is a community effort, and it will impact us all. It's a really extremely special, unique, globally unique marine environment, with some of the most breathtaking coral reefs, these caves and swim-throughs, and the shipwrecks. I mean, it's just an awe-inspiring and really incredibly important and unique marine habitat, and we should all be coming together to protect it, and certainly giving people accurate information. Everybody who's going to vote in the referendum on the 30th of April needs to understand this is not, as the other side have misleadingly said, that there's nothing worth saving in Georgetown Harbor. That is farthest from the truth, and you can see right here the evidence of that. If you're a swimmer, snorkeler, I encourage people to go and, you know, take your snorkels, go to Eden Rock. You can do that for free if you've got your own snorkel and mask. Just hop in and just go for, you know, a 15-minute swim, and you'll see some, you know, incredible marine life, and understand why so many of us are putting our time, effort into this over the last 10 years. Really, we've been fighting this issue. So.
All right, let's listen to a few comments here that have come in. Yesterday, someone actually sent me a video clip, which I'm going to share now to that last commenter's point. So this person says it's funny fuming at how prejudiced and judgmental Elio is being right now on air. What a blickety blick. And I said, well, I don't listen, but what's he talking about? And they say that the people against the poor are all millionaires. And he said something about being white and they just want to retire here and that's it. So we have this clip. We have this clip. We don't want to put any words in Elio's mouth. So let's hear exactly what Elio had to say on his ProPort show yesterday.
A retirement home. That's all they want.
Mm-hmm.
They have millions of dollars. They don't have to work. They just want it for themselves now. And I can say it. I hope they call in to challenge me because I know the very names. They want it for themselves. They're against any kind of development. Forget about crews. They're against any kind of development. Don't want to hire to have a peer. Don't want this one. Nothing. Because they're here to retire. And if you sit here and make them take these things from you, the maritime history that our forefathers gave us, take crews. Remember, you got these Uncle Tom Caymanians that are joining bandwagon with them, And they're only using them because they got certain things they want to say that they can't come out with their whiteness and say it. No. You got to get one token Caymanian to come out and say it. But I'm telling you, when they take the cruise and the government loses money on top of that, and then they take something else and the government loses something on that, it's going to be you and I who have to pay the bills, and it's going to come in the form of a tax. And I'm telling you, Caymanians, if we do not fight all of these things, they're going to come to you. Whoever wants to take your financial independence away cannot come to you and tell you what they are trying to do. They have to come to you with some cogswabble story of how they're trying to save you from some demon, from yourself, whatever it is. And that is precisely what all these persons are doing. So I implore you, fight them tooth and nail. This is Cayman country. You know what I hear I'm talking about in all election now? They're saying, our concern is the amount of status that's being granted. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what? Do you know why it concerns you about status? Even if you don't logically understand it, you know why you feel there's something wrong with that? Because it tells you that the more and more people that you give status to, they get to vote and determine where this country goes. But then why again is that a concern? Because something tells you that these people may not necessarily have the same thing at heart that you do. Because for sure, if they had the exact same things, you wouldn't worry about a couple additional numbers to join you in that fight. But regardless of what your little brain wants to tell you to justify it, I don't want to come across too prejudiced, I'm telling you, your heart tells you don't give away status because you know they do not have the same intentions as you. And I'm not here to stir up crap between Caymanians and foreigners. There are a lot of good foreigners that sit here, they work with us, they're not causing no problems. We know the ones that stir in the bucket of special high-intensity training. We know who it is. And that's why we don't want to give away the status, because we know they don't have the same thing as us. But I want to also tell you something. If I have a family and they eat my flesh and blood, but I bring them inside and I put this one in charge of the kitchen, and I put this one in charge of the restrooms, and I put this one in charge of the utilities, my friend, they don't have to be flesh and blood. They're controlling the house. They are controlling the house. And so this is why we are in the position today. And if you I want you to, during this campaign, listen to some of these Uncle Tom candidates.
All right. So some very, very
That's a lot to unpack.
I know. So again, this rhetoric that it's the Johnny-come-lately expats who just want to retire and be a millionaire. Courtney, you've been here since 1983?
That's right.
How many years is that now, honey chill?
For 42 years. I've done thousands of dives in the harbor. I'm speaking from experience on this specific section of our island. A lot of experience, because Bob was diving where I worked for 3 years, was located right in the center of this. And we did a lot of snorkel tours, glass bottom boating. I drove the glass bottom boat for over a year. It was a fabulous experience. I loved that time in my life. But it gave me a great appreciation for how we utilize these reefs. Why they're so valuable to us. Why would they want to destroy a tourism attraction that the tourists can just walk from the base of the dock to, right? They can board a boat right next to the dock. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's interesting that he commingles a lot of issues in there. And Carlene says, and he wonders why no one wants to have a roundtable discussion with him.
Right, exactly. Maybe that's a little bit more obvious now to the people who've been calling for a debate.
Yeah, and she also says that many generational Caymanians want to protect their environment and do not want to port. So this rhetoric, I mean, when you commingle issues, like, yes, we've got issues around immigration and status, and we do have people who come here who are not genuinely part of our community and whatever. Those are different things, right? So he's just throwing it all into the mix together, which I find a lot of politicians do, and expect you to think that that's logical. Good morning, caller.
Hey, morning out to Sandy. It's Johan. How's it going?
Morning, Johan. How are you?
Good morning to Mr. Courtney. Good morning to Dr. Jurn. How's it going, guys?
Good morning.
Hey, thanks for coming on and for sharing all of your knowledge and expertise. Just not to take away from your presentation, which is really useful. I just wanted to call in after. Of course, I watched the show in the hopes of one day getting brownies from Auntie Sandy. But
I have some in the kitchen for you. I'll get them to you later.
No. Let's just get the hard stuff out the way. I didn't get none yesterday when I needed them, so I don't need your brownies now. Keep it brownies and share them with your real friends. Anyway, now that I got that off my chest, I just wanted to say, as you know, Katrina, Courtney, these guys have been there from the very beginning of the CPR movement. And for those of you that asked the question, well, why isn't there a public debate? Why can't both sides just sit in a room and get together and exchange ideas? It is impossible. It is impossible to have a civilized, sensible, mature, professional discussion with people that just want to be ranting and raving, that are emotional, and that are driven by one thing, sowing the seeds of discontent, whereby color, class, and social status seems to be their primary focus, instead of acknowledging the country is being asked to make a decision on something when the country has no information. If you look at the CPR position, if you look at the things that you've said or anybody else, it's just a question of how can I decide how to proceed or how to answer a question when I don't know what the thing is, what it's for, what it's about, where it is, how much it costs. You know, there's nothing there that a sensible, objective person can latch onto to say, yeah, I support this. But what compounds the issue is these guys don't know any other way than to do exactly what your video clip showed. And that is the primary reason why none of us are interested in engaging and pretending to go through a sensible discussion with people that are fueled by ignorance, hate, and the fact that they think shouting the loudest makes you right. Yes, this is an emotive topic on both ends, but you're seeing the footage, you're seeing the proof in the pudding, why we cannot subject ourselves to a debate. Because, and I'm just going to say this, whether you like me, whether you like the next crew, whether you like anybody, it doesn't matter. But if somebody has been given Cayman status, and there are people that have been given Cayman status that I think was the biggest sort of like, wow, how did that happen? But if it becomes an issue of talking about who's got status and who's Caymanian and who's not Caymanian, that detracts from the real issue, which is, what is this project? How much will it cost? Why are we doing it? Is there a business case? And all of the other logical things. At the end of the day, they're upset that a professional of the caliber of Miss Marla Ducaran came in, was on your show. She did a presentation she did a presentation at the CPR event, and they can't refute or logically deal with any of those issues. So the personal attacks and the venom and vitriol is what they stand by. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, CPR have chosen not to participate in any public debate with persons who are emotionally unhinged and just can't seem to get it together for more than 2 minutes without being like that.
Let me ask you a question, Johan, because he basically says that people like CPR Group is full of these millionaire expats who are coming here to retire. If that's the case, why did you guys have to have a fundraiser last night? Can you tell us who the CPR Group members are?
CPR is made up of every type of Caymanian, and people of means choose to follow a issue and are passionate about the environment and are passionate about the cost of potentially cost of projects. I'll give you one better. The fact that the Pro-Port Group Act and their talking heads are insistent that we must have this project even after the pre-election budget comes out and says that we have a deficit of X amount of money, and they have no qualms in going, maybe this isn't the right time given Cayman's precarious financial situation or status. That tells you everything that you need to know, because no cruise line is going to build you, me, or our children anything for free. Nobody is going to not demand a guarantee or some sort of loan agreement and have CIG on the hook for whatever money is expended. So again, this isn't me. I'm just trying to bring a little bit of logic to a emotive discussion where people get so far in their emotions that they can't see the forest for the trees. And if I'm not saying that you don't have the conversation, you have the conversation, but the way that they're doing it, and at a time when the country now understands we are in a precarious financial position, and they are still pushing for a project that nobody can tell you what it will cost, but we can use a baseline based on the 2019 projections. This will easily cost in excess of $350 to $400 million when it is not a top 10 priority for the people of the Cayman Islands, for the majority of the people of the Cayman Islands. Cruise plays an important part in our tourism product. There's no doubt about that. But there's a time and a place, and right now this is not the time, given all of the circumstances involved. So,
and Johan, can you tell us ultimately who it is that's going to actually ultimately pay for the cruise berth? Who pays for it?
Tartarian says, I want to retire here too, in the land of my birth, but not in an overcrowded concrete jungle, and live a life of servitude in the name of tourism. Let's keep Cayman green. Life is not all about money. Denver has some different opinions on this. Denver says, let me just go back to some of his comments. There's been quite a few. He says, I know what's out there. There's no coral, has grown back. People are asking, why can't you get more updated video footage or pictures? We go back to the original picture that we showed with the turtle and your son. Where was that one taken again?
At Soto's South.
Okay. And that was just
on the edge of the dredge pit.
Ann Smith says, Johan, thumbs up. Miss Brenda, good morning. Miss Brenda says, please let her know when Elio was off. She said he just contradicted himself with his arrogant, condescending ignorance. Carlene says, I find these comments highly offensive. He's basically calling Caymanians who are against the port stupid. He's saying they are controlling us, and we have no sense to make our minds up on our own. Anthony's asking, why can't we get current photos, especially videos? Terry Ann.
I could answer that.
Yeah.
I would have been out shooting that stuff, except somebody stole the engine off my boat in 2019, and I cannot afford to replace the engine. I'm pretty broke. I'm sorry to have to admit this, but
what? You're not one of those rich billionaires?
Yeah, and to just touch on that point, like we had a fundraiser last night. We had a great turnout. I just want to thank everybody who came out. It was, some people wrote us big checks. Some people bought a $25 raffle ticket. It is really a wide community effort. And I mean, most of us do work. We do have jobs. This is CPR, and the referendum is not our full-time job. This is something we fit in where we can around our work and family obligations. So it is absolutely not true that CPR is made up of a bunch of
I mean, you got people like Shirley Ralston, Johan, yourself. There's lots of people that are, they're not status holders. They're Caymanians, multi-generational Caymanians, and not millionaires. I'm sure you probably wish you were.
We wish we were, but we're working hard to make an honest living. Exactly.
Caller, Jonathan, morning.
Hello again, girl. Listen, the video which we just witnessed here on C-Night, the MR has been plastered around Facebook and so on. Look, what is being done there, it is taking a truth and conflating that truth. We do have gentrification in the Cayman Islands, okay, and it is a problem. We do have many who have had no problem building their mansions upon once very viable mangrove estuary, yet still those folks seem to think that rules for me are not the rules for thee. That is a reality which Cayman has to recognize as a fact. But in this instance, it is being conflated in a lobbying effort pro port. Secondly, when we are speaking here in Cayman about, I noticed Mr. Stanley Hill's commentary there, referring back to that truth and referring to the fact that I think very unwisely, Cayman's tourism industry across the board, whether it be offering trips to people or the creation of hotels or the service industries surrounding it, was not given any opportunity to increase organically, wherein the Cayman populace ourselves were the ones who really and actually and truly gave that benefit. Instead, what happened was the doors were swung open to investors to come in and buy out said tourism industry here in Cayman. And there is a truth to that. It was an unwise gold rush mentality move. And that is why we do not see a large majority of Caymanians being represented in the water sports industry, particularly in the diving industry, and particularly, and I'm not talking about fronters, particularly as it pertains to this area within the port and everything else except for the charter fishing industry and the Stingray City tours. Even that has been overrun by people who have come to Cayman on a vacation, on a charter boat, seen the gold mine, went back home, used their large financial largesse to buy and purchase a vessel, come to Cayman, hook up with somebody who is willing to betray their own people, basically, front for them. And this is now why we see not only the sandbar, Stingray City, overrun with boats, we now see the need to police it. Okay? All of that, y'all, is a fact of life, of the overall equation that Cayman is now dealing with. But that is in the past. The only thing we can do now is look forward and try to act more wisely moving forward as it pertains to true stakeholdership of the industries in and of Cayman. Not only do we need anti-monopoly legislation in the Cayman Islands, but we also need to see some level of a moving back towards the Cayman protection law, which was gutted. We need to understand this. If we do not retain true stakeholdership or claw back true stakeholdership of our economy, then all Cayman is doing is creating a need to increase a welfare state for those who have been in one way and or another dispossessed of true stakeholdership of what was once their own economy. Let us look back to the 80s. Let us think back to going to Holiday Inn. Those were Caymanian bartenders. Those were Caymanian people working within those hotels. That is not the case today. Even the tourists themselves speak to this. It is hard for them to even meet a genuine Caymanian working in that hotel more often than not. What has been spoken to by Mr. Elio is based in a fact. It's based in a fact which needs to be recognized, addressed, and seek to rectify, at least to some degree here in Cayman. However, it is unfortunate that Mr. Elio, my friend, my neighbor, has chosen to use those truths in order to push for the cruise berthing facility. And it is also egregious of the use of this word white to induce racial tensions into the conversation when the reality is that color has nothing to do with it.
All right, my dear. Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, I mean, nobody's saying that what he said in totality may not have had some merits, but the way in which he put that together, I think, is problematic when the issue here should be, again, based around the facts of what we're looking at as it relates to this proposal, or lack thereof, really. This person says, excellent show this morning. They have certainly 100% convinced me to vote no. Another person says, I'm not white, don't have $1 million. I have to work. My vote for the port is a strong no. Those two one-hit wonders need to go sit down. I will start watching their show when they change their name to 2 one-hit wonders. Oh my gosh. You guys are so silly. We need to ask what interests Elio/Austin have for pushing the narrative for port. And I mean, let's not forget that Austin himself, for years upon years, sat on a talk show, anti-port. And then he got in with the PPM government, and all of a sudden he flipped a switch and we don't know what happened. Here's another picture that someone sent me this morning that was being shared in the ACT group. We have, it's so funny that he talks about, the white Johnny-come-lately millionaire Caymanians, but he doesn't see the irony in having Monique. I mean, I'm just saying, ironic. This is the very definition of irony, in case you don't know what irony means. We have Monique, head of Tortuga, millionaire, who was granted bought status in, PPM, sitting here with a sign that says the Caymanian story began with a ship. Well, thank you for reminding us, Monique, about her history. We appreciate that. It's getting so shady. We call this shady boots. The cruise people are taking their signs and putting it right under political signs. So here's one in West Bay. Somebody just sent this to me this morning as well, where they took under Kathy's sign, vote yes for the cruise port. What a hot mess. And they were sharing that in their ACT group this morning as well.
Yeah, those signs are of quite significant concern, because they're, again, misleading. They're saying vote yes for cruise tourism, whereas this is a vote about a cruise berthing facility. Like, we all support cruise tourism, but this is about cruise berthing specifically. And we did ask the elections supervisor. We expressed our concerns, but again, there's no referendum regulations, which we were calling for. There's no campaign financing. There's no outlines of what is considered misleading information or accurate information, or any penalties or anything associated with it, because we've got no regulations around the referendum. So they're unable to do anything about it, or to enforce or even really make a complaint.
Yeah. And, I also hear that the ACT group and Tortuga are the sponsors of Elio and Austin's show. So I'm just saying, they paid to come on here. We told you guys that, but they're not sitting here sponsoring a show every single day. I'm all of your pictures. I'm just going through these slides, Courtney, loving these pictures. Look at this octopus.
Thank you. And I want to remind people who might have tuned in late, all of these photographs were made either within the dredge pit. In this case right now, we're looking in the dredge pit, but all within the dredge pit or within the kill zone of the dredging of the silt. All these photographs. Now, some of these macro photographs might be older, but all these macro images of animals like this flame scallop, these are numerous throughout the harbor. So when I photograph, that makes no difference. Those are still there. And they're not the corals that are dying. These are the animals that live within the corals. These are gastropods.
Are these coconuts? What are those?
These are cowries. They're about an inch long each.
Wow, they look like little coconuts.
The Balboa.
Oh, cool.
The Balboa this is on the Balboa. Now, I mentioned the day dive on the Balboa is my number 2 dive. You're now looking at my number 1 dive on the island. And I knew this within the first month on the island, that this was my favorite dive site. The wreck of the Balboa, number 1 and number 2. Night dive, number 1. Day dive, number 2. Because it's so calm, it's shallow, and loaded with stuff. All right, this is Soto's South. And the pit is the dredge pit is going to actually cut the edge of Soto South off and create a straight line through it. And so as we go through the next slide, you're going to see areas that will be dredged away from Soto South. So here on the right side of the picture, you see that line that's going to be cut along the right side here and create a straight edge on that edge of the reef. Based on the only plan we know of, right? Keep going.
I mean, to be clear, the
turtle picture with my son.
It's not a small little thing that we're building here, right?
No.
When Katrina said 5 years, I didn't even realize it would take that long. 5 years of construction and dredging.
Well, at least 3 years, but you know how what is finished on time, on budget, on
and nothing ever goes as planned, and weather can hold this thing up a lot.
As Shirley likes to point out, can you imagine a northwester coming through and there's like all the dredge equipment and barges and everything in the harbor? I mean, we know multiple northwesters would come through while this is ongoing, and it would be quite a disaster.
It's a good time for me to make another point, is that when COVID hit and we were shut down for 2 years, we would have been right in the middle of building this pier, this cruise berth, had we gone through with it when they wanted to, right? So you could add another couple of years just for this unforeseen incident, global incident you can't do anything about. And this is, part of the issue is there's no guarantee that cruise is going to live forever. That dock will stay there forever, but not forever, but for a very long time. And eventually you have to remove the remains of the dock and put it somewhere. What do you do when it has to be removed? Nobody thinks about the cost of that.
Let's do a few comments. Sia says, where they want to build a port, people shouldn't be snorkeling in that area at all because of all the cargo ships and tenders traffic on the waterfront. Well, they're not snorkeling, they're diving, but I guess there are some snorkelers out there too. So what do you say to that, Courtney? Someone who loves the water.
It's coordinated with Port Authority. For instance, diving on the wreck of the Balboa, which is right smack in the middle of where the cargo ships come through. You coordinate with Port Authority. Hey, is there any ships coming? Any ships leaving? Can we dive it now? That kind of thing. So yes, it can be done safely.
Okay. Trisha says the lady keeps saying that we are for cruise tourism, but it's like we eat ketchup, but not tomatoes. Well, trust me, you can eat ketchup, but not tomatoes, because ketchup is full of sugar and all sorts of unhealthy things. And you can eat tomatoes, which are very healthy and good for you. So maybe there is a big difference there. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy.
Morning, Mr. Dexter.
Good subject as usual. I remember when Hurricane Ivan came back in 2002, I think it was, or 2004. We had the most beautiful dive sites in the world. And then somebody came in from someplace else and said to the manager, I can't remember, I think Joe Young was the one that owned the Marriott at the time, or the Radisson, and told him that she could sell them this artificial surf with about the plastic with strings at about 9 inches, and another northwester came and it completely destroyed half of the reef on the 7 Mile beach. And what happened to all those? What happened to all those igloos made in front of the Marriott? They said that was going to replenish the sand as well. You know, the governments of the past and the governments of today and the governments of the future will listen to anything that they think that is beneficial to them, not to the country. And I thank you, Courtney, for stepping up to the plate and trying to explain to these people what they're doing is just they're cutting off their hand to spite their face.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Mr. Dexter.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Yes, my dear. Wow. Miss Carlene says, what does that have to do with building a port and destroying the environment? They're playing on people's emotions. I agree with the caller, but it's a separate issue. So again, what Elio did there, what was that? Green, what's it called? Greenwashing. That was an example of, I don't know if it's greenwashing, but it is an example of what narcissists also often do. And I'm not necessarily calling him a narcissist, but they gaslight you. And so, you know, recognize it when you see it, recognize it.
And I think, Sandy, I just want to say that, like, we recognize that there's a lot of unfairness in the cruise tourism industry. There's a lot of people now who are struggling and suffering, but we don't have to build a pier to fix that. And a pier won't actually fix that. There's like policy and other things that the government, the Ministry of Tourism, the Department of Tourism, other stakeholders can do to ensure that Caymanians are getting a fairer deal in the cruise tourism industry, that their better interests are better represented, that they're able to make a living wage and to thrive. Right now, there's been very little effort put into enhancing their ability to survive in the industry. Everything has just been focused on building a cruise pier, and everything else has been just neglected. And so we definitely recognize that there are a lot of people in the industry who are struggling. As Marla Ducaron's report pointed out, like the average wage per cruise sector employee in Cayman was US $1,871 in 2024, which is one third of the like average Cayman Islands monthly income. So, I mean, wages in the sector are in general low, and there are things that we can do to try to ensure that people are benefiting more from the sector. And yeah, building a cruise pier is not going to help that necessarily.
All right. And the catch-up question, any comments in relation to that? I mean,
I think I'm going to pass on that one. Sorry.
Well, like I said, ketchup is not necessarily the same thing as a tomato. None at all, actually. If you know what you know.
If I'm correct, I think the show wraps at 10 o'clock. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we can go into
on the slides a little bit. The last section of slides is Eden Rock, and it's the most important piece of the show.
All right,
there are things all the way along the way. If we can just slowly go through Soto South, I'll talk about how we're going to cut that off. And you'll see pictures of things that are fabulous that are going to be dredged away.
Let me just restart Instagram for Instagram viewers. We want to make sure that they are included in this. Okay, give me 1 second here to put this full screen again. And then we do single page. All righty, I think we're good. All right, this has been a learning experience.
Yeah, for me
with
too.
The slide this morning.
Sorry about
no worries. We're getting there.
It was supposed to be a lot different.
All righty, here we go. All right.
Okay, so all kinds of creative ways that we utilize these reefs to make money. These are, Caymanian-owned businesses making money. Again, $19 million a year in ticket sales, taking snorkelers, scuba divers, snuba divers, sea trekkers, etc. Reefs. I think somehow we got way back. Okay, here we go. So this is the top of the section that's going to get trimmed off.
Let me just, I'm going to make one little adjustment here. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an adjustment to how we're viewing it.
And what I hope people are noticing is how high profile these reefs are. From 8 feet deep on the top, which makes them perfect for glass bottom boating and snorkeling, down to 30 feet at the bottom and riddled with tunnels. It is a unique, and I mean, you know, if you understand the meaning of the word unique, it means one of a kind. There's nothing else like it. This is going to get dredged away right here. That too. Wow. Okay, go that one too. All that whole section, everything you see in that picture is going to be gone. Everything you see in this shot is going to be gone. That's in the pit. Again, this is Soto South. And this whole section lit up.
Let me just ask you a quick question. Someone said that they think that we should move the Balboa anyway. Because
and that was one of the mitigations that was offered. It would be extraordinarily expensive.
They say it's a navigational hazard.
It was millions of dollars to move the Balboa.
Wow.
And where are you going to put it? Okay, so this whole overhanging ledge all clipped off to accommodate the cruise berth. Keep going. Everything from the everything from this tunnel on the right to the left, all of that will be trimmed away. Keep going.
Wow.
Looking into a tunnel, looking out from the same tunnel. And just outside that tunnel is the dredge pit. So all the silt, super fine material, I should point everything on the right trimmed off, but all this material that they're going to create does not currently exist in the harbor. There is a type of super fine calcite crystals that are like talcum powder that will be the result of the crushing pressure of the dredge crushing its way through the limestone and digging that out. But it's generating this cloud of superfine silt that will drift out and then land in the bottoms of these tunnels and along the walls of these tunnels, choking off all the life in there. That's in addition to blocking off the sun on top of the reef. And the thing is, there's no current inside these tunnels, not strong enough anyway, to flush this stuff out. And even during storms, a lot of it will persist for years. And so there'll be this super fine sludgy stuff in the bottoms of the tunnels and in Hogside Bay and around the Cali, right up to shore, that will persist for years after they dredge. And that stuff doesn't exist today, which is why I'm trying to refute another argument, which is why I've heard people say, oh, after every storm, it's all stirred up, but then the corals survive, right? Well, actually, it's a completely different kind of sediment, and it settles much faster today than it will later after you dredge.
So that was kind of what Denver was saying here. How many nor'western and hurricanes have we had in the past 15 years?
There you go. Exactly. That stuff washes away. It settles down quickly. It does not persist the way that this super fine talcum powder like material will cloud the water.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned something here that I think is interesting, which is that the carrying capacity of this tourism attraction and future food supply worth over $20 million would be lost if we dredge. So not only that, but I'm thinking about our stayover tourists who spend an exorbitant amount of money. They have time to go on these diving excursions at Eden Rock, the Soto area, and they get to see all of this. They will no longer have the benefit of that if it's destroyed.
That's right. But so again, the point of the carrying capacity.
You're claiming that you're trying to save 3,000 people who work in cruise tourism, and you're potentially impacting your stayover business, which is, a substantial business, way more than when it comes to the tourism project. As we've seen, that accounts for more tourism dollar than the cruise ships. So, wow.
Yeah, and this is unique. There's nowhere else that you can jump off the shore and see this and have this sort of snorkeling experience in Cayman and it's pretty unique globally also, but I mean, it's a very accessible experience for our stayover and cruise tourists. And yeah, so it's kind of, yeah, as one of the callers said, cutting our nose to spite our face to destroy this when it is such a unique and vibrant ecosystem that is generating millions of dollars in revenue every year for us now.
Miss Lerna, good morning. She says, excellent show. I was always leaning, no, for the reason that bigger is not better, and the opportunity cost of this project is not in our best interests. Risa says, anyone who's been on a cruise will know that they compete with their destinations by selling jewelry, perfume, cigars, t-shirts, etc. This is one of the reasons that cruise passengers do not purchase while on island. Secondly, the majority of cruise ship passengers are middle-class persons who use cruise as their annual vacations and simply do not have the money to spend at each destination. They're not our core visitors that require additional investment, our stayover visitors. And then unfortunately, Risa, that got cut off. Richard says, I grew up in Cayman in the 1950s and 60s. My playground was Cemetery Beach and Boggy Sands. My favorite pastime is snorkeling in the other paradise, the underwater world. I've watched the old Cayman slowly die from overpopulation and overdevelopment. The final nail in the coffin would be the dredging for a cruise port. The beautiful sea life underworld would be decimated, and the clarity of Cayman's waters would be forever destroyed. This is not from an expert. This is from common sense. We have an interesting comment here from, where did I see this one? I think it was Trisha, maybe, says that out of the 22 countries or so, and some the least of her stature, so to speak, even the poorer ones have a cruise berthing facility. We have probably one or two that don't have it, and I blame DOT, honestly. So what do you say to people who say, look, other places have it, Honduras has it, Jamaica has it. How has it impacted those countries?
Wow.
Well, I mean, well, and another point is that, like Cayman's, the majority of our economy is actually, first of all, the financial industry. Then we've got real estate development, and then stayover tourism. So, I mean, unlike a lot of other islands that are way more dependent on cruise tourism, we have, we're blessed to have a very much more diversified economy where, the majority of our revenue is coming from the financial industry and stayover tourism. So why would we build a cruise port which will potentially negatively impact on, very likely to negatively impact on our stayover tourism market? Stayover tourists are paying a lot of money to come here. They're expecting an exclusive, luxury, high-end experience. They don't want to deal with crowds of 12 to 16,000 cruise passengers a day, having to fight through Georgetown to get to the shops or to Eden Rock, or the traffic will certainly follow with those kind of numbers. So, Cayman is unique, and we do not need to follow other neighbors who have developed cruise berthing infrastructure. Some of them, they've built cruise berthing infrastructure, destroyed the environment, and the cruise ships still haven't come, and the locals are suffering. Like, for example, in Falmouth in Jamaica, there was a lot of promises. They destroyed their beautiful coral reefs, and the locals are still struggling to get a little bit of cruise business. So,
and let me make the point too that those countries, you talk about Jamaica, those countries have mountains, they have rivers, Dunn's River Falls. They've got so much more to offer. We destroy this. What does Cayman have? Our ocean and underworld ecology is so critical to what people come here for. The diving business, you want to talk about, the survival of the tourism industry. I would say the diving is the number one thing really that people come here for. They don't come to walk around Georgetown and pick up a t-shirt. Exactly. They want to enjoy Stingray City. They want to enjoy the Cali shipwreck, the Cali reef. They want to enjoy some of that. So I don't know. And someone else is making the suggestion, Sia says, can't the good parts of a coral be cut out and relocated? I think, Courtney, you spoke to this point about how it takes thousands of years for these things to develop. Man can't just, it's not that easy.
That's a scientifically proven falsehood. It can't be done currently. It doesn't work. But back to carrying capacity, hundreds of people currently utilizing these areas are going to have to find someplace else to go. Their interest is in marine life, so they're all going to go to the sandbar. Do we have any more room there? Nah, we're kind of maxed out at sandbar already. So there's a limit to the carrying capacity for this. But here, back to the Cali, look at how close that is to the landing. They just walk 100 yards and they can go snorkeling, scuba diving, sea trekking, scuba diving right there on the Cali in 12 feet of water with a beautiful reef next to it. It's really lovely, but that will certainly be lost. And as you can see, right at the end, when they redesigned the piers for us and said, yeah, we've improved this for you now, they added this little extension to the plan that extended the base of the pier to the north toward the Cali, ensuring, now you can go to the next slide, ensuring that could no longer be utilized because the tenders now will be coming in right over the Cali. And there will be tenders even after the piers because we have other ships, more ships than can fit on the piers.
Oh, that's interesting. So tenders doesn't necessarily go away.
No, it doesn't go away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the smaller ships will still be anchoring off. Look at all the creative ways we utilize this. It's perfect for this kind of activity. This would never have happened without these attractions in the harbor. That whole business would never have happened. That's Curtis Eldermeyer's. So here's what it looks like. That's the Cali. This is the engine. Massive. And you can just look at it. I'm almost at the surface looking down at it. Like 12 feet away.
Yeah.
And those are 4 rainbow parrotfish. Those are the fish that made the sand that we desperately need to replenish. The big parrotfish, the rainbow parrotfish, midnight parrotfish, blue parrotfish, our biggest ones, greatly diminished in their numbers now in Cayman. And why they don't have total protection is beyond me. A nurse shark right in 12 feet of water. You can walk to this and go see that, right, from the pier. All sorts of juvenile fish. It's a nursery ground for our reef fish. It's part of, now, one of the reasons I got excited about this whole thing is because I am desperately trying to help restore the reef fish population that we have grossly overfished. And so we have a dire situation on the reef with every fish that we love to eat, from whelks to conch lobster and all the different groupers and snappers. And we can do it. I can easily foresee how we can restore this. If you can afford to eat anything else, eat anything else. Other than the reef fish. I'm talking about reef fish in particular. Pelagic fish, different story. But I have a whole presentation just on that for another time.
All right. So we're going to start to wrap things up. So very
rock.
Yeah, wow, they're just such beautiful pictures, I must say. So I'm gonna take a few final comments from some of our WhatsApp listeners here this morning. Okay, give me 1 second here. Just trying to grab them so that we can all have a read together. I mean, this just your slideshow alone, Courtney, has kept so many people enthralled with today's show. They're just
you can keep it moving till you get to Eden Rock.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm taking my time just enjoying the pictures.
Yeah, that's all the Cali right there.
That's all
scuba diving. Yeah, scuba diving. This is all on the Cali, and then we're going to get to the Cali Reef here in a moment. But this is what you get to see 100 yards from the landing. Yeah.
So pretty. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Some of the disingenuous comments from the other side was that it's all dead, and they showed us video of this. This is the deep 4-reef slope underneath the bow of the ship. I've outlined it in red. This is what they're showing us a video of and saying, that's what you're trying to save. No, that's not. That is completely destroyed. Keep going. Completely destroyed by the anchors and chains. This is what it looks like. That's what they're showing us video of. And they're saying, this is the harbor reefs. Hogwash. Absolute hogwash. It just set my hair on fire when I saw that. I couldn't believe it. This was an ex-dive master who did that. Now we're at Eden Rock. And you're going to see next slide how close that is to the pit. In fact, the edge of Eden Rock gets trimmed by the dredging. You can go for it.
Nice.
There you go. So the pit, you see right up to the edge. Keep going. And the life inside the tunnels. And every summer, the silver sides, known as fry locally, spawn inside the tunnels, attracting all these predatory fish. Keep going. And this is a fantastic photo opportunity which presents free advertising for the Cayman Islands. When you get something as spectacular as this for divers to come and photograph, it draws people from around the world when this activity is going on in the harbor. It's a famous photo opportunity. Department of Tourism should be doing everything they can to protect every photo opportunity we have and increase photo opportunities, add new ones, right? But this is all Eden Rock.
Wow.
Yep.
Beautiful.
This is world-class diving in shallow, calm water. And this will be, those tunnels will be smothered in silt by the whole bottom just lined with this soft ooze. If you swam through, it would all cloud up as you swim through, which is not like how it is now.
Yeah. I can certainly see why people love this. I mean, it's amazing.
These are all shot in 2019 right here.
Yeah. Wow. So pretty. Oh my goodness. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. All right. Let me try to, something's kind of freezing on my computer here. Give me 1 second. Hopefully it's not going to kick us out, but let me just grab a few more comments and then we're going to wrap things up here. I think I've got an online meeting I need to run to. But this has been such an interesting discussion. So let me just pull in a few additional comments that have come in from our listeners who have really stuck with us. I think we've still got well over 500 people listening to the live stream. Although the radio has ended, you guys are still here, paying attention in class. Good students today. Everybody's going to get an A almost. So let me go ahead and show you some additional comments from our viewers. So, there we go. So this one says, let me see if I can pull it up same time. There we go. Yep. So this one says, so we are monkey see, monkey do. People are so expletive stupid. I have heard cruise passengers argue over a $5 t-shirt. Most cruise passengers are on a budget. Oh my God. Argue over a $5 t-shirt. Say it ain't so. Say it don't so, folks. Let me just see what else we got here in terms of comments. This one says, give me 1 second here.
Sandy, while you're pulling that up, just want to encourage people, if you're like feeling, people who are registered voters, considering whether or not to vote in the referendum, just want to encourage you all to definitely go out, vote, vote for your representative, vote on definitely the cruise berthing question. Although it's a non-binding referendum, we are giving a strong signal to the next government that, this is, whatever your feeling is after, getting informed, I hope you will share our concerns, but whatever your conscience moves you to vote, please vote in the referendum. And I hope you will be voting no. And we can find better solutions. There's much more sustainable solutions out there for improving our cruise sector. And there's so many bigger problems we need to tackle in our islands.
Yeah. So this one says, I'm sitting here watching Courtney's presentation and another thought came to my mind. our complex and beautiful marine life, which, by the way, is what brought tourists here in the first place, long before we humans came along. What gives us the right to destroy the life below us? Have we not destroyed enough already? So very interesting comments there. Caller, good morning.
Good morning. This is Pastor Bob number. This Pastor Bob Church?
No, this is the cold hard truth, honey child.
Yeah, I was asking for Pastor Bob. I don't know how I got this number.
Oh, I'm sorry. They were telling you to come get a dose of the cold hard truth. You haven't been listening to this amazing conversation on the cruise birthing?
No, I don't really listen to people's story too much.
Oh,
I have my own problem. I have a bigger problem in the church. Try to solve.
In the church? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds
you
like
want to hear?
That sounds like that sounds like a whole other show. Can I call you afterwards and then you can tell me all about it? Because I might want to hear it. You know, we help. People. Let me tell you something, honey chat. We help people solve all kind of problems, including right in the church.
Okay.
You know what I'm gonna say to that? Hold on.
Praise the Lord.
Look at that. We got you, honey child. I'll call you after the show, darling.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. But I hope you found the number you're looking for as well.
Yeah, his 2 numbers here, so I can call back the next number.
Okay,
to find out that. Okay.
No problem. All right, we're going to help you solve some church problems today, later on. Courtney means good to these islands and is honest, but tell Elia to go sit down and get a real job. My daddy worked on dredges and dredged up all over. And one thing he always said, that the waterfront, meaning Hogside Bay, should never be messed with, as it will destroy Georgetown and tons of coral and marine life. Vote no. Another person says, I went on dozens of glass bottom boat rides out in Georgetown Harbor many years ago. And I remember that there was a lot of coral and marine life out there, and the shipwrecks attracted lots of marine life. Vote no on April the 30th, Cayman. Let them come back to us with the right plans and let us revisit it at that time. For now, no. And then they went on to say the rest, but we just read that. Okay, good to go. Yes, praise the Lord, honey child. Let me just see. To just say no, we don't want the port. My question is, who is we? I think we've answered that already. Hit the rewind button, honey child. Some of us want the port. Are there other suggestions? Well, April the 30th, you'll get to see what Caymanians do want. Of course, it is not a binding referendum. So, depending on what government gets in, they may or may not listen to you. Trisha says, I hope I got an A+, Sandy. Ooh, honey child. Yeah, I think you mostly behaved yourself today. Mostly. Paul, the man, said this show was amazing today. Good job, guys. Vote no. Jonathan, I see you calling, but we ain't taking no more calls. I think you had about 3 or 4 calls already today, Jonathan. Denver says Eden Rock will be destroyed the same way they said the piers would destroy 7 Mile Beach. Well, actually, 7 Mile Beach is destroyed. What's your point? I think you're making arguments for the other side now. Miss Marjorie says no to the dock, please. Let me see who else we got here. Miss Beulah says vote no. Paul says it should go to Cayman Bay. Their water already looks dirty. Sandy, take Gigi and the Nautilus semi-submarine. You'll both love the experience. Yes, I do need to get her more into the water and into the ocean and loving all of those amazing things. So let's again do a big shout out. Thank Dr. Katrina, Jurn, and Courtney Platt for joining us this morning on the program. Virtual round of applause. And we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and talk to us.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any final thoughts?
Just would like to thank you again, Sandy, for having us on. It was great. And to all of your listeners, you've been an amazing audience and loved all the comments and questions and great points raised there. Again, we just encourage everybody to get informed, maybe check out the CPR website, www.cprcayman.com, our Facebook and Instagram. We've got some great reels coming out. So please just check those out, share them, and do whatever research you feel compelled to do to be informed on for April 30th. And please, everybody, whatever you're going to vote, come out and vote in the cruise birthing referendum on April 30th.
And
Absolutely.
of course, Jonathan has a question if you can address how a valid and binding people's initiated referendum was allowed to be kept from the people, because you guys did get the numbers. And unfortunately, the PPM government, who's singing a different song and dance now, ensured that basically never happened. Katrina, not for nothing, but there are people out there who think that we've had a referendum on this already.
Right. Well, I think the majority of people were strongly opposed to the cruise birthing referendum and the cruise birthing facility. And in the effort, there was some confusion over the petition being the vote. And of course, when we did trigger the referendum, and the government tried to stack the cards against us in the way they set up the referendum on the 19th of December, 2019, and the wording of the question, which conflated cruise pair with a cargo facility, a number of other issues that would have made the vote very unfair, and again, in the government's favor. So a legal challenge was brought, and by the outcome of the legal full outcome of the legal challenge, COVID happened and the government withdrew the plan, and so the people-initiated referendum has not happened yet. And I mean, we're now having a government referendum, which is non-binding. It is, I think, this is the opportunity that we have now, although it would have been better to have a people-initiated referendum. We have the opportunity now to go out and vote in this government-initiated referendum, send a strong message to the government. So this issue can be put to bed, resolved in other ways. If the majority vote is no, then the government can go out and find other solutions to improve our cruise tourism without a pair. So just encouraging everybody again to come out, vote on April 30th.
All right. And I'll make you address this one. Sia says that these two sound like those crazy people that like to glue their hands to the road to protest oil. Dr. Katrina, are you crazy?
I don't think I'm crazy, and I haven't glued myself to anything so far, but we do like to ensure that people have accurate information. These are really important decisions. It's a really important decision we're going to be making with really huge economic and environmental and social impacts. So we want to make sure that people are not misled, that they have access to accurate information.
Yeah. And it's easy to call people, when you can't come with a triple D, data-driven decisions, the thing you do is just call people names and say, you're a crazy tree hugger, you're a crazy, I don't know, gluing your hands together. I mean, Dr. Jurn, in case you missed her credentials, hit the rewind button, Sia, and go back to the beginning of the program, and you'll see that she has dedicated her life around sustainability, and she's a distinguished environmental sociologist and passionate advocate. So she's not crazy. She has educated herself. She's taken the time to go all the way to the doctoral level. That's a lot of studying and a lot of hard work. Courtney himself has been, professionally diving and a photographer and here in Cayman since 1983. And he's seen the beauty that, is underwater and trying to share some of that with us in photography. And so, I would say come better than that, honey child. Miss Brenda says, Caymanians, those of you who love your country, please vote #vote no. Pearl the man says, oh, Island Pearl, that sounds interesting. But we're not going to be calling the pastor guy here today. We're going to leave that for another day, because that sounds like a whole lot of mix up and then some. Miss Dr. Katrina, thank you so much for coming to the program. Courtney, appreciate you. I'll send you some tips on how to, because it's computer settings, so that next time you can control your own slides, but we'll get to it. It was still beautiful, and we really enjoyed your presentation today.
All right.
Thanks so much, Sandy. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Enjoy the day, man.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. All right. Salvin says, thanks to the guest for the information shared, even though I would love the doc sticking to her great qualifications and give more analysis in her sphere. Salvin, we can't help you. Sit in the back of the classroom, son. You're going to get a C in class today. All right, everybody else, you guys have a beautiful day. Please be good or be good at it, one out of the two. And we will see you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's Friday, right? Oh my gosh. I don't know where the week went, but we'll see you tomorrow morning. We'll have some candidates on the program. So make sure you tune in nice and early for that. Until then, take care.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.